I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm working Thursday, Friday.
Why don't we do Wednesday like earlier?
I could do that.
Can you do that?
I think I could do that.
Yeah, I told some friends maybe I'd go by them with the kids, and the kids can play, and I would make dinner because they're the ones who always like take Peter, Richard, and Milana to school every morning. So
that sounds
nice to do a little something nice for them. So
yeah, let me know what you're thinking. 11, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do noon, 11 noon. That's cool. Yeah, we could figure that out. But like something earlier so that it's done and out of the way.
Okay,
would be nice.
Yeah, just text me like Saturday or Sunday. Give me a time, and then I'll make it work.
Right in that range, though. It'll be 11, 12.
Okay,
it's not going to be any different than that. But just we'll decide which one of those.
I'll throw it in the phone now. Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. We got the time, so we'll do it and get it out of the way. Cool. All right, I'll get this thing fired up then.
All right, bud. Make sure everything's plugged in and click in.
Sure, yeah. I got the right buttons. We're on there. We're good to go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by my good friend Scott Bracey. Merry Christmas, and how you doing, pal?
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Big game tonight. We'll get into it. You're wearing your black like you're going to a funeral already tonight.
Yeah. You might look at it that way.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
We talked a little before the podcast started, and you asked me, and I'm not doing too good. So
that's unfortunate.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, though. I feel like it was not too long ago where we both were saying how like it just feels like, I don't know. I guess these things happen in groups, right? They say with these type of things happen in threes, but we always try to get the negative out of the way. And unfortunately, we lost what I will call more than anything as an icon in the NFL, and that's Franco Harris. I think he was 71 or 72 years old.
Yeah, I believe he was 72. Yeah,
way too young to me. He played before I was really a fan, old enough to be a fan of football yet, but. The one play, the Immaculate Reception, just, is a historic play for so many reasons. Obviously, it was in a Super Bowl, and the idea that, like, was kind of, you would say, almost like the impetus of having multiple cameras, because it was like, was it a catch? Wasn't it a catch? We couldn't tell. And we only ever get really like one, maybe there's like a second kind of crappy angle, but we don't get much. But it was such an incredible play and a big deal. And if you think about it, it was a lot for referees to let happen. They didn't stop the play. They let it go and let it happen. So, but I think when people really get to settle down and take a look at who Franco Harris was, he did a lot in the community. He was a graduate of Penn State. So him kind of staying in state and playing for the Steelers in Pittsburgh was kind of a big deal. And he'll definitely be missed. There was a couple other people that passed away. I think it was a former Bronco, if I'm not mistaken.
Ronnie Hillman, fucking 31, pancreatic cancer.
It's just so young, and it's just
cancer,
kind of like that. Yeah, terrifying, but
it's awful.
Anyway, I'll pass that on to you, and if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, it's 2 legends in a row about weeks. Mike Leach in the college football world, legendary. And now a Pittsburgh Steeler Hall of Fame. And I think he's in both college and pro Hall of Fame. And, just unfortunate. And one of the things, too, you mentioned the Penn State to Pittsburgh Steeler connection. Pat Freiermuth was the same way, their current tight end, and he announced the pick. And Pat said that. And Pat said they kind of got a little close, over the last 2 years. And he put something on Twitter about it. And the eerie thing about this is we're coming up on days before the anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. And they're going to retire his number and jersey in Pittsburgh on Saturday night. And just very, very creepy about the whole thing, dude. So that's going to be a very emotional scene you would expect there. Also.
I'm sure our friend Steve Stavali is upset about it. And all Steelers fans and, frankly, all NFL fans should be upset. Just because, listen, I always say, like, this is the natural course of things. None of us is going to survive once we get to some point. But it is always sad, when we have heroes. When heroes are gone, it's very difficult thing to swallow and accept. So, and he was for a lot of people.
I know he was one of my brother's favorite players too. That's how he got started in the game. I think he wore 32 or in Pee-wees, because of him. So it's just one of those things.
So we do say goodbye.
So, rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do have the business of the day, which is covering sports. And as usual, we are heavy on the NFL. And boy, is it ramping up. Teams are making their playoff push. Other teams are showing cracks in their armor. some teams that I'm not thrilled are showing cracks in their armor. So why don't we get to that? What do we got from last week?
Let's go. Let's start. First game last Saturday afternoon, and what a wild one in Minneapolis it was.
Saturday was a great day, period. Like, it was a
The
good
Colts
day of football.
up 33-0 at the break and lose 39-36. Peter, the floor is yours.
Interestingly enough, I was out to lunch with my daughter, and there was a TV up in the corner, and I'm looking because it's like 1 o'clock on a Saturday. Now, my recollection of Saturday games was always like a late afternoon and a night game. I don't remember there being like early games. So I'm looking and I'm like, oh, NFL Network must be playing some older games. I turn around and it's 17-0 Colts. And I'm like, well, this definitely, because it was kind of further away. I couldn't see who the players were. I couldn't see the names on it. I'm like,
this has 2006 written all over.
Yeah, this is some old game that they're just throwing up there to kill some time. So I was sitting there, I'm like, wow, this is so, and then I'm looking and they did a close-up and it's Matt Ryan's name on his back. I'm like, wait a second. I know they haven't played so far this year. And I went on my phone to the score app and that was the score. I'm like, oh shit. And then it was just boom and another score and 33-0. And frankly, to be honest with you, we left to go home after eating lunch. And I was like, I have no interest in that. And I think one of the college football games was on, one of the bowl games was on.
Yeah.
I said, well, I guess I'll go watch that. What game was that? Was that Florida, Oregon State?
Oregon State, yeah.
Yeah, which I had interest in.
And what's funny, when you texted me about that game, I'm like, why the hell is he watching college?
Because I figured that game's over. Why am I watching that?
Yeah.
But then that game even got out of hand.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me go back to the other game and see. And I think when I got back, it was 36-23. But there was like 8 minutes left or 9 minutes left. I'm like, they're not doing this. And they did. It was pretty crazy. And listen, I know Matt Ryan's getting a lot of heat, and the coincidence or the pairing of the Super Bowl and this game, and both are on him. I think it's a little unfair. In fact, I think it's a lot unfair. Because you're discounting the fact that he led them to 33-0. Like, that doesn't matter at all. Does it matter that the defense gave up like 35 points in the second half? So, can we just have the lowly expectation of getting one stop by what we all think is a pretty good defense in the Colts? I mean, it's been a pretty good defense.
I have a question for you.
Please.
If you're at that game, do you leave at the half?
Oh my God. I don't know if I leave at the half because I don't know that I've ever done that. I would have almost guaranteed left like beginning or because like I said to you at one point, it was, I want to say it was 36-23. If it's 36-23 with like 8 minutes, 9 minutes left, I'm gone. Yeah, I'm gone. Like, I just don't think that's happening. That's more than 2 possessions. So I'm just like, I'm out of here. I probably would have been gone. Yeah. Which would have been a disaster.
Yeah. You would have.
I think if you look at the stadium by the end of that game, I think a lot of people had made that same decision because the stadium clearly wasn't as full. And for those that stuck around, they weren't thrilled, but they experienced history for sure. Because the biggest comeback, am I correct here? Is the biggest comeback in NFL history?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
The second game that they stunk.
I just want to tell you one more thing. My cousin had texted me like, "This is a bad look for Jeff Saturday," and I said, "It's funny in the span of 3 hours before halftime." The organization, the higher ups were probably drawing up a contract extension to keep him on board for the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And by the end of the game, they were probably trying to figure out how the hell do we get rid of this guy? Like in the span of the same game, he probably went from a contract extension worth, I don't know, 10 million, 12 million to potentially not being the next coach, not continuing after being interim coach at the end of the season. That is bananas.
You think about at any point in that game, you get one more first down, the game ends.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's just crazy. Like, if you're oh God, who the hell's the owner? I always forget his name.
Jim Irsay.
Irsay. If you're Irsay and you're like, see, it's the first half, it's 33-0. You're like, see, everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought it was wrong. And I got the right guy all along. He's got these guys motivated. By the end of the game, you're like, we can't have him. He doesn't know how to win games. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't. It's the same game. in the same game. Crazy.
Awful.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The night game, the Miami Dolphins proved, I think, to a lot of people they could hang around against a good team on the road in bad weather.
They did. Now, what I will say is for the majority of the game, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't even that cold. So, in fairness,
Fair.
it really wasn't, that bad. And then what's funny is as soon as it started snowing, that's when they lost. They couldn't continue. They lost.
Well, no, give Josh Allen some credit. He made a couple good throws in that.
He totally put on his Superman cape and took over that game. And you know what? I think I don't want to use the word I don't want to say we bashed Tua, but I think we're not high on him, right? I'm certainly not high on him. I think he's a starter in this league. I just don't think he's very good. We talked last week. You were like, we were saying how like when I say Dak is not top 10, like that's how I look at Tua. I don't look at him as a top 15. Can I come up with 15 quarterbacks better than him? No. I was saying Dak. We were saying I just don't think of him as a top 10. Yeah. Even if I can't come up with 10 better than him, I just don't look at him as a top 10. For Tua, it's more of like, is he really one of the 15 best quarterbacks in the league? Even if I can't come up with 15 other guys, I just don't look at him as a top half of the league quarterback. And that doesn't mean anything. You could still win a lot of games like they do. I think over the last few weeks, I think they've been exposed. He's been exposed as very limited, as most quarterbacks in this league are. This is not like some, we're only talking about him. There are a handful of great. And then there are another handful of very, very good. And then there's kind of everybody else. And I still just think Tua falls into the everybody else. Not bad. Doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I think he's small. I think he's a little on the soft side. And I don't think he's like a monster playmaker. So, and that's honestly, that's 60% of the league. It just is it's just 60. It's 60 or maybe more. 60% or more of the league is just okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles survived Chicago, but
did they?
Gets hurt.
Yeah, but did they? Exactly. Isn't that a problem? I was thinking about this all week because I'm like, I keep hearing people saying this is the new style of quarterback. This is the new way that quarterbacks are going to play the position. And I'm like, okay. Jalen Hurts, injured. Justin Fields can't throw the ball for 125 yards, runs the ball all the time. He's been hurt. Injured. And he gets hurt. He's been hurt in both. He's played 2 seasons. He's been hurt both seasons.
Lamar Jackson,
injured.
Kyler Murray.
Thank you. I'm trying to go. Russell Wilson took a shot last week. He's injured too. Like all the so-called running quarterbacks that do both, they cost their teams games. Does that mean other quarterbacks don't get hurt? No, Mike White was hurt. Zach Wilson was hurt. Like, we can go down the list of a lot of quarterbacks get hurt, but
Kenny Pickett.
Right. But what makes Jalen Hurts different than all those guys, other than maybe like, what the hell's his name out in Arizona? Kyler Murray, is that he also throws the shit out of the ball. He throws the ball for 300 yards on those. This is what made the Eagles so beautiful to watch, is that whatever they needed each week and whatever the defense was giving them each week. And that's also what's different. Jalen Hurts didn't just run because he ran. Jalen Hurts ran, and this is what's different than him and like Justin Fields or something like that. He ran when they gave it to him. If this is what you're going to give me, I'm going to take it. But in most games, what he is a distributor. He's a passer of the football, right? But now he's hurt. Gardner Minshew. What'll be fun about this, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, is just to see how much of it is Jalen Hurts and how much of it is the running game plus that offensive line. It'll be fun to see. It'll be nice to see, because I've always been one to say I think Gardner Minshew might be better than people realize. I think he's actually a Baker Mayfield plus. They've had very similar statistics, and he's always been on much worse teams. I think he's much better than that. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you. He put up monster numbers at Washington State. If you look at the numbers that he put up at Jacksonville, while Baker Mayfield was at Cleveland on a much better team with a much better offensive line, much better running game, they're almost identical. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Did you see how emotional he got talking about Leach? It tears your heart out.
Yeah. I mean, dude, think
yeah.
about this. We're getting off topic, but I don't care because this says so much. Gardner Minshew is starting this week for the Philadelphia Eagles for the first time all year. It's probably the first time he's starting in 3 years, like since 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago. So it's like one of the biggest games of his career. And he left one day. He didn't go to practice one day because he had to go, because he was going to Mike Leach's funeral, and I think he spoke. I think whatever we said last week, and it was a lot, it wasn't enough. Like I think it goes under-reported how much and how many people Mike Leach affected. Unbelievable stuff. Beautiful story. But this will be interesting to see.
From a real death, and I'm sorry to make this joke, to a potential team death in Peter's New York Jets, sir, you have the floor.
All right, so here's what's funny. In the beginning of the season, we talked and, we try to make our predictions, and we were talking about Jets and Broncos and what would we consider like a good season or a positive season, a successful season. And I said they had to win 7 games. Maybe 8 would be great. 9 would be fantastic. Like a 9 to me would have been you're ahead of schedule. And then we looked at the schedule, and it's like, the first 8 games are real. And I said, I don't give a shit. This is the NFL. Go win games. And they did. They start the season off 4-2, and then they're 7-3 at one point, or whatever the hell they were.
Expectations change.
Mm-hmm. So now you're sitting. Do they have 7 wins right now? They're sitting at 7.
They do, sir. They're 7-7.
7-7. And you say, well, they met your preseason expectations. Yeah, but that was based off the idea of like maybe for the first 8 games they go 3-5. Yeah. You were 7-3 at one point. So 7-7 or 7-9, if that's how you, I guess it would be 7-10. Oh, that's not okay now. No, it's not okay. And what I started to say to you in the pre-show, that to me, you got to be smart when you're dealt a bad hand and you think it's a good hand. Okay, so I'll put it this way. I just gave myself a little segue. I play a lot of poker. I play like a lot of high-end poker. So I've been in a situation many times where you have like a monster hand, like you're sitting on a straight, let's say you flop the nut straight, you flop the best possible straight. And then someone's hanging around with you the whole time, right? No matter what you bet, they call. So you're like, they got something, right? They got something, but I still have the best hand on the board. I got the best hand possible. And then the last card comes down and it pairs the board. So now there's 2 5s on the board. And you bet, and the person who's been calling you the whole way, now they raise.
Yeah.
Now, what most people do is they say, well, I don't care. I've come this far. I had the best hand. I believe in this hand. I believed in this hand this whole time. I'm looking. I'm like, it's a great hand. It's a great hand. A good poker player will say, you have to say, well, maybe that person was bluffing, but were they calling the whole way bluffing? Or did they just pull a full house or even 4 of a kind? Right? And a good poker player, if they know their opponent, will fold. And that's where I am at right now with Zach Wilson. Anybody who listens to this podcast has heard me defend him multiple times. And to me, all the way he answers post-game, the Johnny Manziel comparisons are bullshit. I think he's a hard worker. I think there's so much there. You see so many glimpses, and I'm going to give you one of those glimpses in a second, but I'm off. I will take the loss. I was a big backer. I was a big believer. And then I was a big defender. And now I'm just saying it's time to fold what you thought was a really good hand and just take the loss and play the next hand. I just think that's where I am. Now, let me say this. When I say there are glimpses, Zach Wilson led the league last week in passing plays over 20 yards. He had 7 passing plays over 20 yards. In most games, you're lucky if you have like 3 or 4. He had 7. The problem is, if you remember back to the first game Mike White played, Robert Saleh had said he makes the easy plays look easy. Mm-hmm. And this is where Zach Wilson struggles. He does not, if you watch that game, I don't know if you watched that game, little swing outs to the back out of the backfield.
High and away, yeah.
Step up, throw a quick pass, doesn't do it. Quick slant. These are
lawn darts. Yeah.
Quick slants, quick hitches, and fades are what save quarterbacks' lives because the defense doesn't have a chance to get to you. Your ball's out of your hand too quick. and he doesn't get rid of it, or he waits and he looks somewhere else. And his decision making is a little slow. So at least right now. So I'm just done. But then you see these things, seven passing plays over 20 yards, 7 what they would call explosive plays. That's very rare. You don't see that. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Josh Allen does shit like that. Patrick Mahomes does shit like that. And they don't get 7. And that's what sucks you in, like Godfather 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. He does all this shitty stuff, and then he pulls that, and you're like, God damn, but you can't lose that game to Detroit. That's not a really great defense, even though they've been playing better. And I do believe if Mike White was playing in a game, they probably win. And if that's what you think, and if that's what anybody thinks, it's time to move on. Just take the loss. Admit what was wrong and move on.
One question, now we'll move on to another game. If the Jets end the year losing 7 straight, does Saleh come back?
Oh, man. That's a tough one, man, because, he opened his mouth with the whole we're taking receipts thing, which once you end up 7-3 looks like a great thing to say. But then if you end up 7-10 after being 7-3, you remember there was a coach named Pete Carroll that did something very similar back in the day, got off to a great start and then lost I think his last 6 or 7, 8 games, whatever it was, got fired.
Joe Judge across town last year.
What's that?
Joe Judge across town last year.
Correct. Well, he also imploded with some of the dumb shit that he said. But I gotta be honest, that's a tough one, dude. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I think it's a tougher question of whether or not what you do at quarterback. It's not like you could just grab one. And it's not like they're going to be picking in the top 10.
Is Garrett Wilson starting to piss you off a little bit? He's very mouthy.
He's just too chirpy. He's a great player. I love him as a player.
He's very weird.
What's funny, too, he's a typical wide receiver. A fucking diva who just can't shut his mouth, always has to say something. But he produces, so as long as you're producing, people will tolerate it. But he talks too much, especially for a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, his numbers aren't that amazing. They're good, but they're not that amazing.
He's not Randy Moss, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, slow down.
The Dallas Cowboys go into Jacksonville, and your boy had this one shady picked out right.
You did, with the balls.
They blow a 20-point lead and lose.
This is a bad loss for them. This is a good win for Jacksonville. It's really a tale of two stories here, because this is the kind of win for Jacksonville that can really propel them. And they're almost like one of those teams on the outside of the playoffs looking in. And I think they actually have a worse record than the Jets. But anybody watching would say, if you had to pick which one of these two teams on the outside looking in are going to make the playoffs, you would certainly take Jacksonville before the Jets. They're a real dangerous team right now, and I think they feel like they can beat anybody. And on the other side, Dak is who we've been saying he is for 2 years now, and everybody else has been telling us how great he is, and they've been wrong. And we were right. Once again, he's an average to slightly above average quarterback that when everything is working right and everything looks great, he looks great.
Although I would have put this one on him.
It's nothing's all on anybody. But let me ask you this. If that was Patrick Mahomes, do you think they win that game?
Yeah.
Of course. If that's Josh Allen, I can name a lot of guys. If it's
Burrow.
Those guys, he's average. He's average to above average, to slightly above average. I put him in that 12-13 range. Whether I can come up with guys ahead of him or not is not what I'm talking about. I just don't think of him as top 10, and he's not. Because you win that game. Plus, they had multiple opportunities. Multiple possessions, and they didn't make it happen. Yeah, the interception per se is not his fault that got returned for a touchdown. No, but there's more to it. If you look at the whole game, they had multiple opportunities, and he didn't deliver. And that's what great quarterbacks do. You have to deliver. Would Justin Herbert have delivered? I think so. With that team, on that team, I think so. Justin Herbert overcomes his bad coaching. Yeah. Whereas Dak doesn't. Dak needs everything perfect. He needs everything to be perfect and in line. Jalen Hurts doesn't need everything perfect. Tua needs everything perfect. He needs everything as it's supposed to be, or else he's screwed. Dak does too. Other guys don't, and those are the special ones.
Russell Wilson needs a time machine. I mean, everyone's different.
Russell Wilson needs something. It's a different story.
The Chiefs scared to death in Houston. Houston, we have a problem almost. But the Texans turn it over in their first possession overtime, give the Chiefs good field position, and there they go.
I mean, Houston should have won that game.
Yeah. They should have won the week before against Dallas, too.
Right. They should be 2-0 in their last 2 games. And I had them in my bets and I pulled them out just because of that. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, and it's perfect timing by you because this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, that's a game they should have lost. If you look at how the team played, they should have lost. But you have a quarterback who just says, "All right, jump on my back. We're gonna win this game," and they do.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Plus, as we've said, Jesus, how many weeks in a row now with the Texans? Good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find a way to lose. Lovie Smith is a bad head coach. He's just bad.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, you want to know who should be fired at the end of the year? It should be him.
Yeah.
He never should have been hired, though. Shouldn't even have been. I don't look at it his fault. He never should have been hired.
The Patriots. What the fuck was that?
Dude, Mac Jones is a mouthy son of a bitch, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And this is one of those rare times where I'm sitting here like, I have a hard time blaming the kid when you consider the fact that, like,
Matt Patricia and Joe Judges.
Yeah, like your offensive coordinator is a defensive coordinator. You have nobody to throw to. Like, it's a Bill Belichick is still recognized as the greatest coach of all time, but I look at him like maybe he's just a really, really good coach who had fucking Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, can we say that now? Like, he's a really good coach, detailed. Because I think even right now, as we look at New England, they're probably not as good as their record shows. If you look at the talent on that team.
Yeah, I agree.
And that says something about coaching. But some of the stuff he does, dude. First of all, like any offensive players in the draft, he's a disaster.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of these decisions, coaching decisions with his staff, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. High school coaches wouldn't do this kind of shit. Wouldn't hire defensive coaches. This is the fucking NFL. You couldn't find anybody? Like, who was your quarterback's coach last year? Is he with McDaniel over in
He might be, yeah, in Vegas.
You just gotta find. Come on, give me a break, dude. It's almost like incestuous. Like, well, at least I know who Matt Patricia is. I'd rather have someone I know who they are, as opposed to like someone who I think can do a good job. Or I'm not sure. Like, that's just bananas to me that you won't.
Dude, go back and get Bill O'Brien from Alabama to be your OC again.
Would have been a great decision. He would have gone in a second. He would have left Alabama and taken that job in a second.
Definitely.
Of course. Yeah. Just weird. Very, very weird. So weird. This is one of those. You're a narcissist now. You've come so far that you're a narcissist, and you're like, I know what I'm doing. You people are all dumb.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
and it's just showing its ugly head.
The Cincinnati Bengals, big second half to beat Tom Brady and the helpless Buccaneers.
They were up 17-0 in this game, were they not?
I think so, yeah.
And wow, it's almost like.
And Cincinnati, I think, scored 31-6 in the second half. What in the world?
Phone, sorry. It's almost like you set me up with a theme, and then I just follow through with it. Joe Burrow. This is the difference between Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott or Tua Tagovailoa. Like, you win that game. You go down there. Joe Burrow goes down to Tampa. Tampa's a desperate team trying to stay ahead in their division. They're desperate. They get out to a big lead. You imagine Tom Brady winning 17-0 and losing the game? But that's what Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, that's what these guys bring to the table. They're never out of a game. You know, Patrick Mahomes, of course. Is there ever a lead? Is there ever a game where the Chiefs are losing whatever score you want to come up with, and you're like, oh, it's over? Never.
Yeah. No.
That game doesn't exist. That score doesn't exist because we've seen it too many times. They come back from 3 touchdowns down in the same half. It was a playoff game, right? They were down by 3 touchdowns and they closed the gap before halftime, for Christ's sake. So, yeah, Joe Burrow is on that list of dudes.
We talked about this for a couple weeks now. Tom Bowles, another guy, just doesn't have it as a head coach. Just, God.
You know what's funny, dude? You know it when you see it. You know it right away, right? You just know it. You look how the players respond or don't respond.
It's so many mediocre guys getting second chances, third chances too. Like, God damn.
It's great coordinator. So it's not like he doesn't know football. We've seen him in a coordinator spot on multiple teams now, and every single time they have a great defense. Yeah. But as a head coach, he's just not there. It's just.
I call that the Norv Turner syndrome.
A perfect example. Great coordinator, great guru for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But as a head coach, dude, I'm just saying this is why, like, what's the dude in Miami?
McDaniel?
Is that
Mike
McDaniel?
Yeah, yeah.
I look at him and I'm just like, that's just not an alpha. So he's like cool and nerdy and smart and all this stuff. But at some point, like, this is why you're on a 3-game losing streak. Like, you have what was thought of as a super talented team, but you can't pull them out of a rut. Are they starting to lose faith in him? Because you're not an alpha. At some point, you got to be top dog. It's not just your X's and O's and how clever you are. You have to be top dog. And I don't know that I don't know yet. I don't think he is, but I don't know if he's a top dog. I know Bowles, Lovie Smith, I just know they're not alphas. They're not top dogs. You have to be, man. Look at the personalities you're dealing with on a daily basis. Like, these are savage alphas, and you have to be more alpha. And those guys are just not. They're just not. So, but yet they're still going to win that division probably and get a home playoff game.
But it's starting to get a little scary than we thought it was going to be.
I know.
Last one, the Giants win in Washington. Very, very game intrigued me all the way through. I got to be honest with you. Couple interesting calls.
Oh my god! For sure. Well, first of all, that last one at the end of the game it's ridiculous.
He's bear hugging him in the back.
It's ridiculous. All right, so let's talk about the play before that, though, because somebody at my work asked me, like, well, why didn't the ref say it? And I said, okay, here's, as a former coach, former player, and lifelong viewer of football, it's an unwritten rule. I taught this to you guys when we were in games. Like, if you're on the line of scrimmage, you look to the ref on the sideline and you say, I'm on, and he usually gives you a head nod or says, move up. Yeah, I'm on, I'm off. And they usually just acknowledge what you're saying. It's basically like, if I ask, you'll tell me. But if you don't ask, they don't say anything.
Right. And then they'll say 2, move up, 2, move back, or whatever they want. Yeah.
You can watch a million game films, and you'll always see wide receivers do that, and the referee acknowledge them. But the actual book rule is he is under no obligation to tell you anything. It's your job. It's your job. Now, so is the referee wrong? Now, first of all, the wide receiver, was it McLaurin?
Yes, it was.
He says he said I was fine. Now, I don't know. He said, she said, I don't know. But here's what I'm saying. You're going to pull that shit now? I could show you a fucking million times that the sideline ref acknowledges that we'll call it like a question, like, I'm good, I'm on, or that statement, I'm on, am I good? And now you're going to side like, I'm going to sit there stoically and not give you anything, and that's the rule? Really?
Yeah.
It's correct, and it's douchey.
And it looked weird because he kept going to his flag too before, like, the play was like going.
Right. It's like he wanted to throw a penalty.
Yeah, it was
like wanted to throw the flag. So it was kind of shitty. On the other end of it, man, you've been on this for a few weeks now. Wink Martindale has done a really good job with that defense, because let's be honest, the Giants' offense is mediocre at best. At best, it's mediocre. Yeah. And that defense keeps them in all their games, and they hope to keep games close till the end and then make just enough plays to win, which is exactly what they did here. I think Washington is a better team overall. Taylor Heineke, little exposed as not great, even though the players love him. And yes, he's a gamer and all that stuff, but he's not great. He is who he is. So, and this is what I mean by when you're limited, you're limited.
One huge fumble he had too.
Oh. Yeah. So, but that's a tough loss. They had won 6 out of 7 games, Washington. I think
that's right, yeah.
And Giants kind of were in the other direction. I think they were 1-4-1 over the last 5 games. And you're at home. That's a game you should win, man. You should find a way to win that game. But good for the Giants. It's a nice win for them.
NFL Week 16. We are down to 3 weeks to go. Tonight, in the rainy, windy, cold MetLife Stadium, Peter Calisano's New York Gangrene Jets try to avoid disaster against the up-and-coming Jacksonville Jaguars.
So this is a spot where I have no faith whatsoever in the Jets. I don't have, obviously, I stated already, have no faith in Zach Wilson. I think his teammates don't have faith in him, which is way worse than me not having faith in him. Who gives a shit if I don't have faith? I don't think that locker room does. I don't think those players do. Can he get it back? Absolutely. If he goes out there, throws for 250, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, maybe runs for another 20, 30 yards, couple first downs. Dude, guys are not dumb. If you're going to help them win games and help them make money, because everybody's looking for a new contract at some point or another. So if you can help them make money and we can win some games, they'll love you again. If the Jets go on a 3-game winning streak to end the season with Zach Wilson at quarterback, there's not a guy in that room that's going to give a shit what happened the last 3 weeks when he got benched to the point of they didn't even let him dress. Okay, so can he get past it? Of course. But to do that, you have to perform. And I'm sorry, but I've seen nothing to indicate. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. That's not fair. I've seen some things, but it's the same some things I always see.
Yeah, you were just
I don't see the
7 plays over 20 yards. Slop.
I don't see the consistency, which is really what makes a special NFL quarterback. So, and on the other side of the ball, let's be honest. Trevor Lawrence really looks good. Like, he looks like he's fine. Isn't it funny?
It's clicked.
He gets Doug Peterson as his head coach 6 or 7
Where
games
have you
later.
heard that before, sir?
Boing! Yeah. This is on some podcasts, some really good weekly sports podcasts. So, this is a really tough spot. But Jacksonville, you're coming up here. It's nasty. It's gross. Not exactly the best weather for them to play in. We'll see what happens. And that's what I was about to say. And because of all that, the Jets will probably win by 10 points tonight.
Well, let me be the first to wish you good luck, sir.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think this game has 17-13 written all over it. I just don't know who's going to have what score.
Okay. I'm expecting more like something like 24-13 Jags. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a full bottle of bourbon there.
No, but I got vodka.
Seattle at Kansas City. Seattle, another team going a little bit in the wrong direction. We got a little too hyped on them and Pete Carroll and Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Although
so
they
what?
did,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They lost Tyler Lockett with a broken finger. That's a huge blow. They lost Kenny Walker, who's like really helping them out in the run game. He missed a game or two. And the defense has been really bad.
Well, it's been kind of bad all year.
They gave up 30 to Carolina at home, and
defense has been kind of bad all year.
And KC, they're playing for a top seed here, so you got to think at home, coming off a scary game, they might hit the gas pedal here a little bit.
So 2 things. So with Kansas City, what's so interesting about Kansas City, especially in regular season games, although as the season comes to an end, they tend to step on the gas a little more. They do tend to play down to their competition. We saw that last week with Houston. You would think they would go in there and shit on the Texans, and they didn't. So they do tend to play down to their competition. So we'll see what happens with that. Where's this game again?
Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for Seattle.
Yeah.
And here's the only thing I'll say about Geno Smith. He's still putting up pretty good numbers. But what's different now is there's a bunch more turnovers. He's throwing a lot more interceptions. And I don't know if that's overconfidence or what. I have no idea. Or it's just this is who he is. He's just coming back to who he is. More film equals, better defenses playing better against him, disguising coverages. I have no idea. I just know that the real difference that you're seeing with Geno Smith is that there's more turnovers. The yards, the touchdowns, they're still kind of there. And some of those turnovers, some of those interceptions they're really smelly. They're pretty bad. So we'll see if he can clean that up and they can run the ball a little bit against Kansas City, which is possible because, it's not the greatest run stopping defense. It could be interesting, but I'd be surprised, man. I agree with you in the sense of Kansas City, end of the season, wants that number 1 seed or top 2 seed for sure. But if they can get one, great. You're trying to get that one. You're still trying to get that 1 seed. And this is when Andy Reid kind of turns it on. So we'll see. Tough spot for Seattle, man. Ugh.
A really good game in Minnesota. The Giants at the Vikings. Early in the week, I thought Vikings here. I thought it was a bad spot for the Giants. I'm starting to change my tune, I think, a little bit here.
What's funny is when we were doing this podcast last year, you had said to me so many times, like from week to week, we don't know what we're getting from Minnesota. And the only difference this year is that those games are close. They're winning them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't even you don't even know what to get from half to half now with the Vikings.
You're
Like,
not,
holy shit, right?
You're not kidding.
So I don't even know what to say here. I know what I'll expect from the Giants because I think Daboll has shown to be a really good coach.
Yeah.
They're going to play good defense. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to do everything they can to get it to Saquon, and they're going to try to keep the game close. And what does Minnesota do? They play close games. I don't even know what the spread is on this one tonight. Do you happen to know?
I think it's 4.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but Giants play a lot of close games. They keep games close, and Vikings don't really blast anybody. So, it would probably end up being a field goal game.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean
Are you starting to be more of a believer in Daniel Jones? Who did I see? Somebody.
I've been saying this I've been saying. I wish the guy had. If you gave him the receivers that Lawrence has in Jacksonville, I think we'd see a different guy. I don't know. Like, he made some good throws the other day. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 9,
definitely,
2nd, and
I see some improvement. I don't know if I see great.
I know.
That's the only thing I'm like. I don't know. Maybe we talked about it last week. Like the look, he's kind of doesn't have that.
He's Eli, but at the last name.
What the hell? I don't know. I'm still not sold. But I'm sold on Daboll, and I
am too. I am too.
I love him working with Daniel Jones. So, and that's clearly helping.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cincinnati at New England.
Well, listen. This should be easy, right?
This should be a 10-point game for the Bengals. At
it
least,
should be.
I know. It's just.
But this is Belichick. Like, this is what we're saying. Like, he's a very good coach. Even if he's not with one of the greatest without Tom Brady, he has a losing record without Tom Brady. So we'll start there. But where's the game?
New England.
Yeah, it's just always tough to go up there if it's going to be breezy, all that kind of stuff, funky weather, and it is going to be fucking cold this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He's going to put some special packages together, get some blitz packages, get in Joe Burrow's face. If Joe Burrow has a weakness, Belichick's going to find a way to exploit that. I just don't know that they have enough offense. And the other thing is, along with New England not having enough offense, that Cincinnati defense week to week has been getting better and better. So you'd be hard pressed to give me some kind of justification to take New England there.
Exactly what they did last year too. They got better and better at the defensive side as the year went on.
That's head coaching. That's coaching, dude.
Yep.
That's coaching. That's being smart, taking a long-term view. I've been saying this for 4 or 5 fucking weeks now. Like, they just keep narrowing things down, improving in little ways here and there, getting better and better every week right before the playoffs start. Like, I'm sorry, that's Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor is starting to earn himself a really good reputation here because it wasn't a fluke last year now, and they're starting to pound teams too, dude.
Yeah, people need to start paying more attention to him as a head coach because even when you watch him at the mic, that's an alpha. That's a guy who's fully confident in himself. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Should be.
I don't just mean he believes in his team. He fully believes in himself as a coach.
I know I'm not breaking news
as a man.
Here. I'm not breaking any news here, but the playoffs are going to be fucking awesome. I can't wait. I just can't wait. I hope you get in so you can enjoy it a little bit more. But
one of the reasons, I don't really. Once the playoffs, I don't care because that's all great football. Those are the fight begins.
No, but you want your team in. I'm saying, like, come on. You haven't been in since like '95.
One of the things that's great about this year's playoffs is that it's really pretty wide open. There's even with the Eagles, we look at the Eagles as the best team, sure, but Jalen Hurts is banged up, and we as we spoke about it last week, they haven't played like the top 3 or 4 teams other than themselves. Like San Francisco, Kansas City, Buffalo. They haven't played those teams, right. So we still have questions. So and other than Philly, it's like wide open. You have like a lot of. You have a handful of great teams, a lot of really good teams, easily can upset some of those great teams. The playoffs are definitely going to be fantastic this year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of the Niners, Washington goes all the way out west to play the Niners. I tell you, man, that defense is suffocating.
Oh, my God. It's incredible. That's the best defense I've seen in the NFL in a while. Washington has a good defense themselves, and I'm curious to see with a defensive head coach and a quality defense, can Brock Purdy kind of continue this magic ride that he's been on? You got people out there saying, "Oh my God, if you look offensively, look at the numbers. They're even better now than they were with Jimmy Garoppolo." And I'm like, well, okay, well, let's see. Let's see. This will be a good test, just because not that Washington's a great team, but they do have a very good defense. And let's see, he gets some pressure. I will say this: if Brock Purdy puts up great numbers this week, puts up another 24 to 30 points this week, I'll be a believer. I'm already like on the positive side with him.
Yep.
If they win, if he puts up those kind of numbers, not just win a game, they can win 13-10 and not be great. If they win like 30-13, 27-13, something like that, I'll be impressed. You got a team. Washington's hurting. They just come off this loss. They're hungry, want to make the playoffs. They're going to go out there fired up. I'll be impressed. But that defense is just insane.
This game lost a lot of juice. Philly at Dallas.
It lost a lot of juice, but not to the Cowboys.
Right.
Listen, injuries happen. They played the Eagles early in the year with Cooper Rush, a quarterback, right? I don't think anybody gave a shit about that. Nobody was feeling bad for the Cowboys, so they shouldn't feel bad. And I think it's almost even, if you're a Cowboys, you're probably even, I don't want to say more motivated, but you might even be more focused, because now you can't lose. Like before it was like, hey, we want this game and we're fired up. Now it's like you're favored now. You're not just hoping to win this game. You're supposed to win this game. And can they do that? Because, listen, the offensive line is still there. The receivers are still there. Gardner Minshew is maybe the best backup in the league. Probably could be a starter on a lot of fucking teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Texans would like Gardner Minshew right now. They still have a good defense. They still have that defensive line that gets pressure. Yeah. Like everything.
The Broncos.
You make a trade for the Minch.
Fucking
So Dallas almost has more pressure on them now to win the game than they did before. So we'll see how that works out. Dak needs to show up and have a great game.
Christmas Day, the early game.
Fantastic. We get we get games on Christmas Day. Beautiful. Fuck the NBA.
Two of them stink, but
who cares?
The first one.
Listen, Packers, let me just say this. You'll have NBA games on Sunday also. On Christmas Day.
They're probably so pissed that there's football.
Oh my God. They're gonna get 3 ratings. And an NFL game, even if it's a shit game, they're gonna get 14s.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna watch the NBA. No, everyone's gonna watch the NFL. Nobody's gonna give a shit about the NBA. NBA must be pissed.
Yeah.
Pissed.
Definitely. Green Bay creeping back in it against the Dolphins, trying to hold on.
In Miami, right?
Yes.
You're going to think I'm freaking crazy, but I actually think this works out better for Green Bay.
Yep, I agree.
Better weather. Let's not forget that Aaron Rodgers has had that thumb injury. That shit doesn't heal like in a day, in a week. Like, I'm sure it still bothers him. And trust me when I tell you, because I've had something similar. Cold weather doesn't help. Ice helps. Cold weather doesn't help. Okay? Doesn't help you stretch that thumb to grip the ball. I promise you, or I should say, I'm willing to bet he's thrilled that this fucking game is down in Miami, that he doesn't have to deal with that cold. Oh, by the way, they're calling for the Polar Express all over the country this week. It's going to be cold as shit. So it's probably going to be like 5 degrees in Green Bay. He's 12. Yeah, he's probably thrilled that this game is in Miami. And so in a way, for them, it's a break. I know Miami would certainly rather be down in Miami, but I think Green Bay is probably actually not terribly upset that this game is down there. And listen, you got a team that's on a 3-game losing streak, and you got another team in Green Bay that's kind of thinking, hey, maybe we're starting to figure this shit out a little bit. I don't know. It'd be an interesting game. It'd be a fun game to watch. Yeah. I think it's going to be a better game than most people think.
I agree.
I would not be surprised if Green Bay pulls off that upset.
That's all I got,
if it's even an upset,
Yeah. That's all I got.
You're not excited about Broncos-Rams?
No.
Russell Wilson's playing again.
Oh, good. Let me take my meal to the couch and watch that fucking game. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it because I'm a glutton for punishment.
I'm going to watch a Jets game tonight and cry.
Well, at least you got a shot.
And probably get drunk. I mean, there's no chance this is going to go the way I want it to. So,
Hey, we have a new captain in New York, my friend.
oh, I thought we were going to do some bets.
Oh, you want to do that? We can do
Yeah,
that.
started the music.
We can do
Let's do
that.
some bets.
Do that.
How many you got?
I got 3.
I do 2. I almost had 4.
Last week we are continuing staying hot. I was 3-0. You were 2-1. Yes,
Very nice week.
We're getting hot as the weather turns cold.
You knew it was going to turn around sooner or later. All we needed was more data. We got more data. We're analytics guys now, and we needed more data. So now we're looking good.
You look like you look like an older Brandon Staley yourself over there, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm going to start.
Handsome fella, bad coach, but he's a handsome fella.
I'm going to start in the Midwest. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints getting 2.5 at Cleveland.
Interesting.
The Browns have been sloppy with Watson. They haven't looked good really at all.
I agree.
Watson looked the best he looked last week, and they still only scored 13 points. Nick Chubb, their star running back, is questionable with a toe, who also hasn't been great because they're on their third center, and they like running the ball between the guards. So with that being said, I don't trust the Saints that much, but I really don't trust the Browns. So give me the Saints plus 2.5.
Nice. Good for you. I don't hate that one because I agree with you. To me, Deshaun Watson, if you were excited, if you were a Browns fan and you were excited that you got Deshaun Watson, you got to be watching the last few weeks and being like, oh my God, I hope he gets better because he's been average to below average. Not good. I hope it stays that way. Brett Hundley has been the quarterback for the Ravens the last couple of weeks. He's going to be again this week. And I have to be honest with you, as I watch him play, he's like Lamar Jackson light, right? Like he's not Lamar Jackson, but kind of throws the ball pretty well, runs pretty good. He doesn't do either as well as Lamar Jackson, but he does both pretty good. He looks like a very viable, substitute for Lamar Jackson when he gets hurt. But yet they don't put the points on the board. For whatever reason, they'll move the ball around, but they don't, and it looks kind of the same, but it's not the same because they're not putting points on the board. Atlanta started Ritter last week. Desmond Ritter looked good at times, didn't look great at times, but the game was still, competitive throughout, even at the end of that game. I got a feeling, I'm thinking Atlanta. Listen, Ritter's got one game under his belt. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons plus 6.5 here at Baltimore. And I don't always do this, but you guys know when I do this, I'm kind of on with these. Do not be afraid to throw a couple pennies on Atlanta money line. I just think there's a chance they win this game outright. Wow. Give me Atlanta plus a 6.5.
Look at the huevos on this guy.
Oh.
Well, we just talked about Franco Harris. It's going to be an emotional night in Pittsburgh.
It is indeed. Justifiably so.
This is a last chance at a run for the Raiders, I think. They're playing a little better. They got a little lucky last week. And by a little lucky, I mean handed to them in a fucking gift bag.
Oh, my God. We didn't even talk about that.
The Pittsburgh secondary, not in great shape, not very good. They have bad corners. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller's back. Hunter Renfro's back. You never know what you're going to get from Carr this year. I know you like him. He's just very inconsistent.
I think some of that has to do with the talent around him. But
Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky is very, very shaky at this point. Give me the Raiders plus 2.5 at Pittsburgh.
I like that one a lot. Yeah, I like that one. I think that's good. A lot of emotion going to be in that stadium, though. All right, so the game of the week before Jalen Hurts got hurt was Cowboys-Eagles. I'm going to pick it anyway. And if you would have asked me who I like before the game, I probably would have taken the Eagles. But as I said when we were doing the weekly preview of the games coming up, this game becomes actually more important for the Cowboys because now you're no longer just like hoping to win or want to win. Now you should win. Anytime if you're an elite team or you think you're one of the better teams in the league or you're a playoff team and you're playing another team that has their backup, unless there's an SF on the side of their helmet, you should win that game. If you're playing a team with their backup and you're a playoff team, you should win that game. And I think the Cowboys should be even more focused than they were before Hurts got injured. I'm going to take the Cowboys minus, and I can't stand the Cowboys, but I'm going to take the Cowboys minus the 5. I think Dak has a good enough game They probably win by a touchdown, somewhere between a touchdown and 10 points. Give me Cowboys -5 over the Eagles.
Their defense needs to step up too, because they haven't played good the last 2 weeks.
You're 100% right. I gotta believe they're fired up for this game, though. Gotta believe that. You know what? Here, let me just say this too. We were worried that they were looking past the Jags because you had Micah Parsons last week talking about Jalen Hurts and they weren't even playing him yet. They're not looking ahead this week. I think they got caught looking ahead last week. They're not looking ahead this week.
Good point.
So.
Peter, if you were sitting next to me right now, I'd ask you to pinch me because I'm going to do something that's that's very Scotty-like.
Oh my goodness!
I'm going Monday Night Football. What's the coach I hate? Chargers.
Oh my God, Staley.
I'm taking the LA Chargers -4.5 in Indianapolis. I think the Colts are absolutely cooked after that collapse. That's a hard thing to bounce back from. They are going to Nick Foles. They're benching Matt Ryan again. Say we want about Staley. We both love Herbert. He's got his weapons back on the outside. Throw that fucker. Throw it often because I have Herbert in fantasy and Mike Williams. Throw it. I think Chargers are big.
Yeah, I like that one. I agree with you on wholeheartedly on the idea of like a win, a loss like that with the Colts with only 3 games left in a season. Yeah, there was a number of guys on that team that just took their book and closed it and said,
"Shipping the cars home," as they say.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to protect myself at this point. So yeah, I like that one a lot. Oh, I know what you're going to say about this. And you couldn't be more wrong. I'm not trying any funny business here, right?
Are you trying to reverse the jinx tonight? Is that where he's going?
You and I were ahead of the curve last year when we talked about the LA Rams and how thin they were, that they were very top heavy with their talent, that they had all their money invested in their stars and very little money invested in anybody else. Very different than the Philadelphia Eagles, who have their money spread all around. And this year, it's proving to be the case, where they have no talent on a team and their backups are bad. And this is a bad football team. You got Baker Mayfield stepping off the plane. He's playing in his loafers practically last week. I think the Broncos are starting to, I don't know if the word is figure things out. But listen, Russell Wilson has his pride. What the hell's the head coach's name? Hackett has his pride.
Better and better.
Hackett has his pride. That defense has their pride. I think the Broncos win this game.
Shit.
You're gonna think I'm crazy here. I think they win it relatively easy. I could see something like 20-6. Give me the Broncos -2.5 over the talentless Rams right now. I'm telling you, like 20-6, 20-22, 23-9.
Wow.
Give me the Broncos -2.5 over the Rams.
Well, Merry Christmas.
You calling me to mush?
I'm not at this point. Yeah, at this point, I want to win because it's not our fucking pick. I want Seattle pick lower than they could.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so that's better for me. But yeah, God bless you.
All right, what do you got?
For me, Saints +2.5. Raiders +2.5, Chargers -4.5.
I got the Atlanta Falcons +6.5 over the Ravens. Might want to throw a couple beans on the money line. Cowboys -5 over the Eagles. And the Russell Wilson-led Broncos in a rout of the Rams. In a rout. I said it.
Before we move on, you kind of contradicted yourself a little bit with the Cowboys because you called Minshew the best backup in the league.
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to go Philly there.
Nope.
Getting 5.
Why am I contradicting myself? He's still a backup.
Well, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's coming off a 1 week of practice of getting reps with the first team.
Funeral.
I'm just saying, if you're Dallas, I said it like 3 times. If you're Dallas, you went from wanting to win this game and needing to win this game to like, you have to win this game. If Hurts played and Dallas lost, it's like, damn, that sucks. But like, we were there, we fought. If Dallas loses now, it's an embarrassment. You can't lose this game. You can't lose this game to a backup quarterback and say you're one of the better teams. You're like in the Super Bowl bubble. You're one of those teams competing for a Super Bowl. You can't do it. So this is now a must win. Like you have to win this game to even consider yourself like a contender. That's what it is for me. I like Minshew. I think he'll probably do okay. He always does. Show me the game where he plays bad.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
You'd be hard pressed to find too many games where he doesn't compete, keep his team in the game. He's good. I like him. I wish he would get a better opportunity. But he's a backup that's had 1 week of fucking practice. They should lose. So that's
right. You don't have to yell at me. As I started to say before, we have a new captain in town.
Are you okay with this?
Yeah, it doesn't fucking make or break nothing for me. The 16th captain in Yankees history. Big deal?
Well, yes, it's a big deal because you're the captain of the Yankees, and they don't just throw that around to anybody. And this is why I asked you if you're okay with this. Who was the last captain?
Jeter.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why was Jeter the captain?
Yeah, because he won.
Because he won. He had titles under his belt. I don't think was he the captain before they won a World Series?
No, he was the captain. I think in 2004 they named him. So he already had 3 in his 4.
Yeah,
4.
so so I don't know. This is why I'm a little.
But Mattingly was named captain. He didn't win shit either. So it's kind of like.
I guess that's fair. I don't know. It feels a little like.
I feel like this is such a fan thing. Like, who gives a shit?
Listen, yes, it's all a fan thing. First of all, it's all a fan thing because we don't talk. We're not talking about this and putting it out on a podcast if there wasn't fans. So it's all fans. It's a TV show.
You look like you're glowing in the dark.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
It's dark here and I have no light on. My light died. So it's all a fan thing. I don't know. I just look at it as like you have to deliver. You know what it is? It feels very contractual. It feels like we gave him the contract.
Yes, it does.
In the contract was, we'll name you captain.
Oh, dude, 95%. That's probably true.
And I think that's weak. I think that's weak.
Tonk. Yeah.
Like when you look at this team, like okay, so you brought up the name Mattingly. When you think of that team, was there any question of like who the leader of that team was?
Right, and you could also say that now too.
About him? Is he that kind of guy?
Yeah, I think in the clubhouse he gets a lot of respect. I think Rizzo, the way Rizzo talks about him,
I'll lean on you for
and the way Cole even talks about him, I think he does.
That's what I'm asking.
He's very Jeter-esque, but the problem is the rings. That's the biggest difference. I mean,
that's part of it. But then you bring up Mattingly, which is a good point.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I ever looked at him as like this leader. Now, granted, Jeter wasn't a vocal leader, but he was a leader by example. Plus, he had the gravitas of the ring. So there's that, which is.
Yeah, Jeter had the aura around him too. It's like
absolutely, it's not even fair.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But listen, I'm happy he's back. We'll have fun.
I'm certainly happy he's back.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the most important thing. But yeah, I just look at it as it feels a little contractual. Like we just gave you this big contract, and don't worry, we'll also give us a month, and we'll name you captain.
We'll have a nice little press conference. We'll take you to dinner. Yeah.
It's like, was anybody clamoring for him to be captain other than him? I don't know. I don't even know if he was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, we can't really say that. But speaking about money getting thrown around,
tell me about it. Go ahead,
Christ.
Dude. Give us the details on this one.
Uncle Steve Cohen and the New York Mets are absolutely on a spending spree here. Carlos Correa, who last week signed with the San Francisco Giants for $350 million, somehow funked his physical this week. Now,
with the Giants?
With the Giants. Very shady. Very shady.
Fishy.
So then Steve Cohen comes back around and offers the former Astro shortstop cheater 12 years, $315 million with the Mets, and he's going to move over and play third as his buddy Lindor plays short. Listen, the NL's pretty stacked. The Mets are one of them for sure. This is going to be a fun house one way or the other, especially us in the New York market up here, dude. It's going to be wild.
I saw an article that was talking about, how do I word this properly? It was almost like there's some concern within the league about how much money the Mets are spending. Have you heard that up there?
Yes.
And what do they mean by that?
They don't think it's good for baseball because it takes like
are they really
and all these small teams out. But you know what? They weren't spending the money anyway. So like
Well, that's
what does it matter? What does it matter if he goes to the Yankees, the Mets, the Giants? There's only 6-7 teams that can spend that kind of money.
Well, what I was going to ask you is, are they on an annual basis? I know these long-term contracts are monsters, like they're huge. Plus, what they gave Verlander is
I know,
that's just crazy.
I know.
But is their annual salary?
What they give Nimmo's crazy, and the guy's a mediocre fucking center fielder.
What they give him?
Hold on, let me look this up, dude. You're gonna shit your pants.
So while you're looking that up, I want you to think about. I don't know if you have the numbers, but I want you to think about this. Is their annual salary, like the Yankees actually aren't even the top 5 anymore of annual salary, although they might be now that they signed.
They are.
But they were like 7th in the league in salary, and I was just curious: have the Mets just like passed the next closest team by $40 million? You know, are they the highest spending team in the league now? And if so, by how much? Like, is it really something to be concerned about, or is it just, you know, sports writers and baseball traditionalists that are concerned that the Mets are trying to buy a championship?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Nimmo, 8 years, 162.
So what does that come out to? 20 a year?
18.5 for a mediocre center fielder.
Is he mediocre?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Well, listen, they weren't too thrilled with their lineup if they went and got Correa the other day.
Well, that's true. This is what happens when you're a multi-billionaire, right? What's a couple $100 million?
I mean,
you're gonna get it all back anyway.
You know how much money this guy has? They said all the salary he spent on the Mets and whatever only is 2% of his net worth.
It's crazy, right?
Dude, it's nuts, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you look at it, you're like, what the fuck do I care?
But you know what's funny, though, as a Yankee fan, me and you, like, it's kind of nice that, like, the pressure's a little bit more on them now with the money, with the top payroll and shit than we got
for sure.
The 25 years.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's all I got, my friend.
I just wanted to head to the NBA. I have 2 quick things from the NBA. One of them is, like, you haven't heard a lot of noise coming out of Brooklyn in the last, I don't know, they fired their coach or he resigned or however you want to put it with Steve Nash. And it's been relatively quiet. You haven't heard much from Kyrie Irving. You haven't heard much from Kevin Durant. And lo and behold,
they're winning basketball games.
They're winning basketball games all of a sudden.
Wow, what a coincidence.
They're either 3rd or 4th in the in their division in the Eastern Conference now. So, you know, maybe this is a lesson for Brooklyn. Like, shut the fuck up and just play basketball. Stop trying to be like, you know, leader of the world. We're gonna make our statements. I am lying. Hear me roar. Whatever the fuck. Like, just go out and play basketball, and people will appreciate that probably more than anything else.
Do you think firing Steve Nash had anything to do with this?
I listen. If you have a problem with Jeff Saturday being the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, then you should have had the same exact problem with with Steve Nash being the head coach of the Nets. No history of coaching. No. I never looked at him as like head coaching material. He's not that kind of like vocal leader.
Yeah.
So I think it probably helped.
But let me counter that. They picked him. They handpicked him.
Yeah, and this is why you don't let the inmates run the asylum.
Exactly.
Right? Like, even I saw something down here in Philly. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's the guy with the Sixers that played for Brooklyn for a little while. From
Harden?
James Harden was like, we never were coached. We were never coached. And then so I don't even know who the new coach is for the Nets, but, you know.
I think it's Jacques Vaughn, isn't it?
I think you're right. I thought it was, but I didn't think I was correct.
Who did a decent job a couple years ago when he took over when they fired the other guy, Atkinson.
From what I understand, one of the first things that Kevin Durant said to him when he got the job was, hey, I want to be coached hard. Like, coach me hard. So I don't know if Steve Nash felt like because he was handpicked, he was just going to let these guys play, or if that's how he wanted to play when he was a player, if he wishes the coaches just let him do his thing. Players need to be coached in every sport at every level. I don't care where you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're LeBron James or Michael Jordan. I don't care if you're Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. You need to be coached. You need to be coached. Okay. So I think that's what's going on in Brooklyn. Jacques Vaughn is saying, fuck off. This is what we're doing. Keep your goddamn mouth shut. Let's play basketball. Let's stop worrying about all the shit that happens outside this building, and let's worry about what happens on this court. And if we do that, we're going to win a lot of games. And that's what's happening. This looks like the team we thought they might be when they first built it. So we'll see if that continues. We'll see if that continues because we all know what's his face. He's going to open his mouth at some point. He can't help himself.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It'll happen.
It's probably going to happen before
the new year ends. Before the New Year's.
I was going to give him a little bit more credit, but you know what? I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I say Christmas Day. He'll probably say something nuts if they're playing. The other thing, a little bit of history, and I think because of where it happens, we don't pay as much attention to it. But Damian Lillard just passed Clyde Drexler on the all-time scoring list for the Portland Trailblazers.
That's a big deal.
I think most people don't realize because of where he was. I think most people don't realize how good Clyde Drexler was.
Right.
He was part of Phi Slamma Jamma with the Houston Cougars down in college. With Olajuwon, and then he was a great player. He was like Jordan before Jordan. Like he was a guy that played above the rim, that couldn't be stopped. He could score at will, was a pretty decent shooter, not a great shooter. He looked, even the way he's built, it's very Jordan-esque. And then Jordan comes along, he's like, hold my beer. I'll show you what this really can look like. But he just passed him. Damian Lillard is, again, this is what I'm saying by like location matters. He's a much better player than most people realize. They don't get to see him play enough because even when he's playing, half of his games, which are his home games, are played at 10 o'clock at night. They start at 10 o'clock at night, and most of the country doesn't see that.
My first recollection of Clyde Drexler was, you remember Sega Genesis?
Mm-hmm.
They had a game called Bulls versus Blazers, and it was basically like Clyde against Jordan. It was
he was on that level. I mean, he was really on that elite level. So for Damian Lillard to pass him up, and frankly, he's still got plenty of career left. I don't know how much of it will be spent in Portland. I suspect if he may be there for a little while longer. He's going to blow way past that. But so I just thought that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And LeBron James and the Lakers are in 14th place. Yeah.
Oh wow. I'm sad.
92 in the book, my man. What you got?
This might be the best list I have put together.
Now?
Dude, it's pretty good. Wait till you see this list.
Holy cow. Okay, you've had some pretty decent lists.
Yeah, 90s have been pretty rocking so far. I'm not going to lie to you.
Wow. All right.
Number 5, two-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2009 sacks leader, former Bronco and Raven defensive end, great name, Elvis Dumervil.
Okay.
Number 4, Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, former Raven, Lion, and Philadelphia Eagle defensive tackle, Haloti Ngata.
Very good player.
Great player. Opened up a lot of shit for Ray Lewis to make tackles.
Oh, yeah.
Number 3, two-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2008 Defensive Player of the Year, ex-Steeler, Bengal, and Patriot outside linebacker James Harrison.
Oh, my God. He's number 3.
Number 2,
Ay.
Super Bowl champ, 2001 Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time sack leader, holds the single-season sack record in the season tied with T.J. Watt. Now he's a TV superhero. He's all over the place. Former Hall of Fame Giants defensive end Michael Strahan.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's not number 1?
And number 1.
Oh, I think I know who it is.
Super Bowl champion. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. 8-time All-Pro.
Oh, my God.
13-time Pro Bowler.
I actually just got chills.
13-time Pro Bowler.
Oh, my God.
2-time sack leader. 80s and 90s All-Decade team. College and Pro Hall of Fame.
Jesus.
Ex-Eagle and Packer Hall of Fame defensive end Reggie White.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that he's the greatest football player of all time. Like, you could put him as better than Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor was like a shooting star. He came, did his thing, and was gone relatively. Like, he was out of his prime relatively quickly. Whereas Reggie White, as you stated, was an all-decade team, 2 decades. 8. Just. Oh my God! He was
silly,
fucking scary, man. Holy shit, was he good?
Yeah,
that's that. You're right. That is a hell of a list.
Thank you.
So I have just a basic college basketball score from I think last night, and it was an upset. Iowa, who was I think ranked, Iowa lost to Eastern Illinois, and you might be saying, Pete, why the hell are you even bringing this up? Well, this is now. So I'm going to give you some context here. I want to get this straight. University of Maryland, BC, whatever the hell that was. They were when they beat Virginia, Baltimore County. When they beat Virginia as a 15 seed, they were 11.5-point underdogs. Prior to that, or after that, Norfolk State was a 21.5-point underdog to Missourian as a 15-2. And then UMBC was a 20-point dog when that was against Virginia. Yeah. Eastern Illinois was a 30.5-point underdog.
Holy shit.
And they won by 11, 93 to 82 or 92-83. I can't remember which it was.
Goodness gracious.
This is the largest underdog to win the game outright, at least in the last 30 years. And the reason we say at least is because they were having kind of trouble finding some of the point spreads, because a lot of the games back before like the early 90s, it was kind of just in Vegas or your guy, it wasn't like
the guy behind the VFW.
Yeah, it wasn't like BetMGM had stats on this. So like It was kind of shaky even finding lines going back far enough. So Eastern Illinois was a 30.5-point underdog and beats Iowa outright by at least 9, maybe 11. I don't remember which who was. Biggest underdog to win a game outright in at least 30 years. Pretty unbelievable.
Good stat, dude. Good
stat. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Whew.
How about that? Reggie White was so good. Dude, he was so good. In my head, I'm just watching him rush and just take that one hand and club a 320-pound offensive tackle out of the way and then just go and get that sack.
And you can't even do that anymore.
How he did that, I have no idea. It's so strong. And he wasn't even the biggest dude. He was only like 290.
Yeah, the Deacon Jones hand slap. Boom.
Oh, my God. So pretty crazy stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas. Later.
Boom. All right.
My man.
Good stuff. I'll have this out later tonight.
Thank you, sir. Have a great Christmas. I will probably talk to you over the weekend.
You got it. Later on.
Buddy.